Alnatok felt fantastic. The cold air felt incredibly invigorating. The blowing snow was like a summer breeze to him, and 3 feet of snow didn't even come up to his knees. For a giant, this was the perfect day to play. "Hey, brother," said Alnalam, "send some of that cold air in here." Alnatok waved the front door back and forth, sending refreshing waves of freezing air to his brother inside. "Isn't this great?" said the older brother. "I don't remember when we've seen this much snow." "I do," Mintaka said as she came up the walk, "when we were up near the glaciers." "Good morning, sister. Isn't it a beautiful day?" "For us, maybe, not for our little friends. There's so much snow that they can't get out of their houses." "That's not good," said Alnalam, sticking his head out the door and peeking around. "Can we fix it for them?" "I'll be right back," said Alnatok. He disappeared into the pass, then came back several minutes later with 3 large sheets of metal, each welded to a length of rail. "Brother and sister, we are now snowplows." At Ponytown, Mintaka saw all of the ponies standing shoulder-deep in the snow and felt sorry for them. She stepped into their field and began shoveling, forming the snow into a wall, creating an enclosure with Urik's house as one side. But what to do for a roof? Then she got a brilliant idea. Running back to Dim Torch, she procured a large number of tent sections from the supply house. With a mighty punch, she broke the surface of the frozen drinking pond, exposing the liquid water beneath. She then dipped each section of canvas into the pond and laid them over the top of the snow corral. As they froze, they turned into a solid mass capable of keeping out the wind and snow. When Mintaka left, the ponies were cheering and stamping their hooves for her. Little work was done that day, except by the giants. Once they were able to leave their homes, many people went directly to the communal areas of their towns, such as the mess tent, the trading post, the local tavern, and, of course, Splim's. "It's nearly lunch," said Feather, "and I think everyone is tired of flapjacks." Splim looked in the pantry. There was a tiny amount of ground beef from last night, which was still usable. There were onions, garlic, peppers, and hot root, a few tomatoes, and lots of beans. "This afternoon we have a chili feed," Splim announced. "What's a chili?" asked Feather. Splim simply smiled and said, "Just make sure we have plenty of cold water." Marcus was more than a little disappointed in himself. He had meant to go shopping, but forgotten, and now he had nothing to eat but baking soda and dried chota. Quargle entered the shop just as Marcus was fixing to leave. "Hey, man, I thought I'd better come see how you're doing." "Hungry," replied the human. "Man, there is not a scrap of food in this house." "Yeah, there's a lot of houses like that today." "I'm going to Splim's. You want to come?" "Are you kidding? All I have at home is 3 oranges and a bell pepper, and the pepper is the least green thing of the 4. "And you came here hoping I'd have something cooking." "It's always worked before." "Come on, you freeloader. My treat." Alone at home with nothing to do, K-Rock sat in an easy chair and stared into the fire while he sipped a hot cup of tea. He was starting to doze when he heard a voice. "Redfoot to K-Rock. Come in, K-Rock." The captain jumped into wakefulness and answered. "K-Rock here. Have you found Soapok?" "I'm afraid not, sir. In fact, we're stuck halfway between Wadogo and Cheyenne. An avalanche has closed off the road ahead, and the snow has reduced visibility to almost 0. "Understood. Find shelter and resume your mission when travel is once again possible. K-Rock out." The captain sank into his chair and began to drift to sleep again, not because he was calm, but because the worry he felt was making him feel exhausted. Marcus and Quargle were so happy to get out of the cold and into the warmth of Splim's restaurant. "Hey, Feather," called Quargle, "I'd like a slice of hot root pie, extra hot." "I'm afraid we don't have any pie," said Feather. "No hot root pie? "Hey, Splim, what's the deal with no hot root pie?" Splim, who could be seen through the window of the back room, did not reply, but stood there, looking down at the counter. "Yo, Splim, are you okay?" Again, no answer. Quargle went back to the kitchen. "Splim, you got a hungry bugbear with pockets full of money out here." "There's no food," said Splim. "What do you mean there's no food?" "It's all gone. All I have left is some vegetables. What am I going to do, make a salad? I can't serve salad to goblins." Quargle thought for a moment. "How big is your biggest pot?" Splim pointed with his thumb to indicate a gigantic cauldron which could easily double as a bathtub. "Fill it up halfway and start some water boiling." Splim did as Quargle suggested. Quargle then took several handfuls of savory herbs and tossed them into the pot. "Now wait, and trust me." Out in the dining room, Feather was explaining the situation to Marcus. "So if you want some ale or mead, that's not a problem. But we just don't have enough food to go around." "What about Chota?" asked Marcus. "Chota we can do, as long as you don't want milk in it." "Cup of Chota, then, extra hot." "Make it 2, said Quargle, emerging from the kitchen. Several children ran by him, nearly knocking him over. "I do wish folks would get a handle on their children," said Feather, making her way back to the kitchen. On the far end of the room, someone was sniffing audibly. "Something sure smells good," said a gnome. "Hey, Splim, what have you got cooking back there?" "Oh, that's something I asked him to fix for me," said Quargle. "He's making me some soup as a special favor." "Are you going to eat it all yourself?" "Oh, well, of course I am. It's my soup." "Oh, you wanted some. I'm sorry, man. There's only enough for one." Everyone in the room looked disappointed. "Well, I suppose I could be persuaded to share with someone if they had something to make it stretch." The gnome pulled a hard roll from his pocket. "I have some bread," he said. "Hey, nothing thickens a soup like yesterday's bread. You've got yourself a deal." "I have some potatoes at home," said one of the Lutins. "I've got some carrots I was going to feed to my horse," said another. "I think there's a little chicken left from last night's dinner," said a dwarf. "How about wild mushrooms?" "I caught a trout yesterday." "My husband bought some leeks last week, and I don't know what to do with them." Quargle raised his hands. People, please! This is my soup after all. I can't just share with the entire town." He paused for just a moment. What the heck? Go get your stuff, everybody. We'll make this a soup to remember." From the window of the kitchen, Splim said, "I could kiss you." "Please, I thought you guys were supposed to be lawful good. Don't threaten me with torture." The children took advantage of the sudden shortage of adults to become even more rowdy. The Werebat children were engaged in an aerial game of tag before too long. "Hey!" cried Feather, nearly spilling the pot of Chota as one flew over her head. "No flying inside the restaurant." "The kids are bored," said Marcus. "Hang on, I got something that'll quiet 'em down. Hey, kids, how would you like to hear a story?" All the children cheered and gathered around. "All right, then, let me tell you the story of a very special man named Shanar-Kallas." The young ones all listened with rapt attention, but none more so than Kara and her new friend Swallowson. Just a few more gnaws, and the project was finished. In her hand, Pridgapati the beaver had a lovely flower, which she had just carved out of birch. Adding it to the other pieces which she'd carved earlier that day, she now had a complete potted plant, which was secretly a kinetic sculpture. With a little tap, the plant began to dance. Pridgapati felt extremely pleased with herself. Looking around the shop, she sought a home for her new toy. The shelves, however, were completely filled, 2 and sometimes 3 items deep. Taking it into the back room, she looked for a spot, but here also there was no space to be found. Even the work table was littered with her wooden creations. Pridgapati climbed the stairs into her home, but even here the shelves were starting to fill up. The beaver placed the wooden plant on an end table and sighed. She didn't want to admit it, but she had simply made too many toys. She would have to stop. Pridgipati returned to her shop, feeling utterly depressed. Sopak was dead. He had fallen asleep and never woke. His heart, having fought hard against the cold and exhaustion, had finally been overcome and frozen. The mist from his last moments of breath formed a sheet of ice which sealed his eyes permanently closed. But the body of the poor frozen werebat would not be lost here. A pair of icy arms picked Sopak's body up and cradled it compassionately. They then carried him away into the desert of snow.